Hello, welcome to my September TBR. I can't believe we're heading into the burrs. Oh, Finn has heard me talk and wants to be part of the party. We're heading into the burr months, and I can't quite believe that, and my August reading challenge completely flopped, completely failed. I did not succeed at all. So I'm doing what any normal, rational person would do and trying again in September. So in September, I am once again carrying over that challenge to have an 8,000 page month. In August, there's still a little bit left of August at this point, like a week left, and I'm nearly at 4,000. So I'm probably going to finish August just over 4,000, so I will pass the halfway mark. But August has not been the best reading month for me. It's been, I say that, and then in the same breath I'm going to say it's the second best month I've ever had. I have read a decent amount, but I've just felt really low in myself, so it hasn't felt like the best month. And I know that if I was feeling better, the motivation would have been better and I would have done better, so it just doesn't feel as good. But hopefully September will perk me up a little bit and we'll be better and we'll smash the 8,000 pages. Maybe, maybe not. That does, however, mean that we have another ridiculous TBR coming your way right about now. I haven't calculated how many pages this is, so at the end I will let you know how many pages this is. And it's not going to be enough, I know that, but I want to leave some wiggle room for some mood reads throughout September as well, blah blah blah. Anyway, let's get on with it. First things first, in September I will be rereading The Fragile Threads of Power by V. Schwab. This is my Patreon buddy read for the month of September. I have reread the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy. My patrons may either be rereading it or reading it for the first time. And we are going to continue that by reading Fragile Threads of Power in September as well. I only read this for the first time not that long ago, but it was a 5-star read. I loved it. So I'm interested to see how much I will still love it reading it like directly after finishing the Shades of Magic trilogy again, because when I read this the first time, it had been a long while since I'd read the Shades of Magic trilogy. So I was, excited to be reunited with some of my favourite characters, whereas now I've just reread the Shades of Magic trilogy. I don't know if that will impact how I feel about this, if I like it as much or whatnot, I don't know, but I am excited. This is the next series after the Shades of Magic series, the Threads of Power series, which follows Tess. Is her name Tess? And Tess is a woman with a knack for fixing broken things because she can see and manipulate the threads of power. And in a Red London where magic is not as strong as it once was, fixing broken magic is a handy skill to have. Next up is one that is giving me September vibes, and I can't quite pinpoint exactly why, but it is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is a murder mystery, I believe. Opulent mansion borders the Empire. An Imperial officer lies dead. Oh, it's blurbed by Wesley Chu. Interesting. Blood of Leviathans work strange magical changes. It's a death, terrifying and impossible. Called in to solve the crime is an investigator whose reputation for brilliance is matched only by her eccentricity. And at her side, her new assistant, an engraver, is magically altered to possess perfect memory. So, murder mystery, but in a magical, weird world. I've heard fantastic things about this, and this comes very highly recommended by Emma, and Emma has good taste. I will link Emma's Instagram down below, because that's where she's most active, and she has good taste. On the topic of Emma, another one that she's recommended to me that I have been meaning to read is The Kaiju Preservation Society. I bought this probably a while back now, but it doesn't feel like a while back, and when I bought it, I immediately started reading it, and then I don't know what happened, but I stopped. And I don't know why, because I was enjoying it. I was only like 20 pages in, but I was enjoying it, I was having a good time. But something happened and I stopped reading it and never picked it back up again. So I would like to do that. This one is quite little, so it should be an easy read. But it's about, from what I remember, this guy loses his job and ends up taking a job as a food delivery guy. And he delivers some food to a person who works for the KPS? Kaiju Preservation Society, and it pays well. It's a good opportunity for him in his current state, but it does involve big, bad, about to be extinct creatures. It's an animal rights organisation, in quotation marks. In an alternate dimension, massive dinosaur-like creatures roam a tropical world, but they need our support to survive. And the Kaiju Preservation Society wants to help. It's a fascinating concept, and I enjoyed what I started reading of it, so I just need to continue it and actually finish it. Next up, bit of a different vein. I don't think the vlog where I read this has gone up yet, but I recently read Days at the Murasaki Bookshop, and very much enjoyed it, so I would very much like to read more Days at the Murasaki Bookshop. I have been really into Japanese translated fiction lately. Whilst I'm here, let's just talk about Before the Coffee Gets Cold, because I want to read this one as well. I am very much enjoying the vibes that these books are giving me, the vibes of just little snippets of what a person needs to hear in that moment to progress their life, to get over whatever barrier is blocking them from getting to the next stage in life, whether that be a memory that needs unlocking, like in the Kamigawa Food Detectives, or a book recommendation, or a cup of coffee, or time spent at a bookshop. I'm enjoying that vibe, so I would like to continue that with more Days at the Murasaki Bookshop, and then Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I think this one is a bit sadder, I don't know, but I've heard fantastic things about it. It's very popular, it's still in that vein, so I would like to read that as well. Will I maybe read more Japanese translated fiction than this? It's possible, because that is something I'm enjoying at the minute. Who knew? Something else I've been in the mood for lately is Tea Kingfisher. I recently read Nettle and Bone and had a fantastic time. I very much enjoyed that. And I would like to get to A House with Good Bones. I have discovered that I like Gothic horror. I never considered myself a horror reader, but I was always like, I don't like horror, I don't like to be scared, but I love it when the atmosphere is weird and eerie and unsettling. And I had this conversation with Beth, from Book's Nest, and she kind of unlocked the fact that that is Gothic horror. I like Gothic horror. I've just never put two and two together because I'm so used to being like, I'm not a horror reader, I don't like horror. But I love it when the atmosphere is creepy, it's eerie, it's unsettling, it's uneasy. Like, think Mexican Gothic, think What Moves the Dead, that sort of vibe. Now, I don't know if this has that vibe. Family secrets in bloom, funny, scary, charming, a black vulture perched on the mailbox. The walls are a sterile white. It's very important to say grace before dinner and her mother won't hear a word against Sam's long dead little miss grandmother who was first to put down roots in this small southern town. The longer Sam stays, the stranger things get, and every day more vultures circle overhead. So maybe it is that vibe. I'm hoping it's that vibe, but I'm very much in the mood for more Tea Kingfisher. And this is one I have, so would like to get to this one. I also really want to read What Feasts at Night, which is the sequel to What Moves the Dead, but I don't have it, so I need to get it. And I also want to read A Sorceress Comes to Call, which I don't have. Again, more Tea Kingfisher. I'm very much in the mood for Tea Kingfisher at the minute. Next on the agenda are two very different books, and I doubt I will read both of these, but I'm putting both of them on the TBR, so they will both come into the page count when we get there. But in September, my next Patreon 24-hour readathon will be happening, and the prompt for that is a specific thing that these books will both fit. And these are the only two books I've got that will fit the prompt for that 24-hour readathon. It's part of my Pokeathon readathon that I do over on Patreon. My Patreon's always linked down below if you want to check it out. It's available to all of my tiers from £1 a month, blah blah blah, spiel, spiel, spiel. But one of these two. So we've either got The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch, which is heavy, epic vibes. I believe this is about some sort of heist, but honestly, I don't want to know too much about it. I've heard fantastic things about it. I know a lot of people that I trust have loved it, and I do now have the Broken Binding special edition set of this, so I would love to love it, because they're over there. This is just a cheap paperback copy that I got for £3 to actually read. Swashbuckling, that gives me good vibes. All of Locke's gains are for himself and his tight-knit band of thieves, the Gentleman Bastards. Colourful underworld of the ancient city is the only home they've ever known. Clandestine war is threatening to tear it apart. Caught up in the murderous game, Locke and his friends are suddenly struggling to stay alive. Gives me epic vibes that I'm gonna love. However, also gives me epic vibes for things that I haven't necessarily been in the mood to read lately because of my weird headspace. But if the mood strikes, I will read this one for that 24-hour readathon. Otherwise, I will read this one for that 24-hour readathon, which is Inkheart by Cornelia Funke? I would have naturally said Cornelia Funk, but that's wrong. Funke? It's German, right? Anyway, this is a classic middle grade, although I'm now thinking maybe YA. Meggie loves stories, but her father Mo hasn't read any aloud to her since her mother mysteriously disappeared. When a stranger knocks at their door, Mo is forced to reveal an extraordinary secret. As he reads aloud, words come to life and dangerous characters step out of the pages. That is all I know about this book. He reads, and the books come to life. I don't know anything more than that, but again, it is very beloved. Fantastic reviews, two very different vibes, but we will see where I land. Maybe I'll do both, but not both for that readathon, because that's not going to happen in 24 hours. Next, another one that has jumped out at me that I would like to get to, it's on my priority TBR, so I really should, is A Time of Dread by John Gwynne. This is book one of the Blood and Bone series, which takes place after the events of The Faithful and the Fallen. I adored the Faithful and the Fallen series. I loved that so much, but I haven't read any other John Gwynne. I haven't read the Shadow of Gods series either, but this one is calling to me at the minute, and I don't entirely know why. It takes place a long time after the events of The Faithful and the Fallen, I believe, and some of the, like, creatures from that, like the Benelim, there's like angels and demons and giants and so on. Peace is brutally enforced and the ancient enemy might not be as crushed as they first thought. Of course, it's an empire in turmoil. There's demon sightings, mutilated corpses, predator or something worse. Ooh. I want to read this. I'm excited. I loved that series. Very epic fantasy, war, politics, angels, demons, giants, creatures, sword fights, close combat, empire in turmoil. And I know I've just said about Locke Lamora that, like, that epic isn't what I'm gravitating towards at the minute. Something about this is still getting me, which is interesting. And we will go with that. We'll see if I get to it. And it's on the priority TBR, so I really need to get something off that priority TBR, because I didn't finish Grace of Kings, and I'm not putting that on my TBR again, because that's embarrassing. What is also embarrassing is the next book on my TBR. I have read this book twice, and I'm gonna read it again. It's The Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. I fucking love this series so much. And I want to reread it. I've been battling with myself not to reread it because I've read it enough. I have a whole library of books that I haven't read yet, but this series makes me so happy. I love this series. I love talking about this series. I love reading this series. I love the audiobooks for this series. I love annotating this series, and I want to feel joy. So I'm going to reread The Ruin of Kings again. Will this potentially spiral into me rereading the whole series? Again, likely, but I'm just going to roll with it because I really want to. And I'm going to annotate it again. I'm going to use a different colour pen and I'm going to annotate it again, and I'm going to have the best time. Look, I've got my little annotation guide in there when I annotated it the first time, but I'm going to annotate it differently this time. This is the first book in the Chorus of Dragons series. I have a whole vlog on everything that happens in the Ruin of Kings, complete spoilers all the way through of everything that happens in this book. If you wanted to continue the series and needed a recap, that exists on my channel. But to give you a very quick overview, it follows a young boy called Kieran, who is wanted by many different people because he has a big part to play in a prophecy. He is wanted by the gods, he's wanted by the royals, he's wanted by the dragons, he's wanted by a group of mysterious assassins. He is wanted by many people because he has a destiny. But whether that destiny is to save the world or to destroy it is very much up for debate. He is recognised as a prince to one of the royal houses in the Kingdom of Ker. With him being recognised as royalty comes all this attention from everywhere. But he originally is just a young boy from the slums, thieving to make a living, being a musician on the side to try and get him and his father out of the slums. And things definitely take a different direction. And I love this series. I've spoke about it so many times, so I'm not going to sit and speak about it for too long now. But I'm very excited to read it again. It just makes me so happy. Okay, and then we move on to some quicker reads. I have recently picked up The Faraway Paladin Omnibus 2. I read Omnibus 1 recently and very much enjoyed it. It is about a young boy who is raised by 3 undead in a completely abandoned village. There is no one else around. It is a ghost, a skeleton, and a mummy that raise him and teach him how to live, how to be the best version of himself, how to survive out in the big wide world. But why is he alone in this village being raised by 3 undead? How did we get to that situation? That's what the first omnibus tells us about. I really enjoyed it and would like to continue, so here I go. And then I am also throwing on here Witch Hat Atelier Volume 6. This is where I am up to with the series. I've been taking this series very slowly, but I very much enjoy it. It is about a group of witches who are being trained in witchcraft and magic, but one of our witches should never have been a witch, and she kind of accidentally discovered the secret to magic, which means she had no choice but to be inducted into this school of witchcraft, which was always her dream, but how she accidentally discovered the secret of magic and what she accidentally did with that is a problem. I don't know how much more to say that doesn't totally spoil Volume 1, so I'll leave that at that. But magic, witches, whimsy, good time, I'm enjoying. So Volume 6. I need to get my hands on Volume 7 and 8. I have 9 and 10, but I haven't got 7 and 8, so I need to get on that. And then finally, something else I've been wanting to get to, but have been putting off for whatever reason, probably because there's loads of it, but is the Hooky series. I have read Volume 1 of Hooky before, and I very much enjoyed it. It's the story of these brother and sister who are witches, but they miss the bus. It's been a long time since I read this, but I think they miss the bus to, like, wizard school. Literally, page 1. They are missing the bus to wizard school. So they end up helping some magician, wizard, whatever, and I can't remember anything else that happens. Missed the bus to magic school, didn't expect to be declared traitors to their own kind, but thanks to a mishap with a dragon, a broken broom, and a high-profile prisoner, their faces are on wanted posters throughout the country. I can't remember any of how we get to that, so I definitely need to reread Volume 1, but I know that I enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to that. And then I have Volume 2 and Volume 3, and from what I remember from the end of this, I think it takes a bit of a darker turn. So, I mean, the covers certainly suggest that. So yeah, maybe towards the end of September, heading into the Halloweeny witchy season, I feel like this would be a good choice. And that is my TBR. I don't know how many pages that is, so I'm going to insert that here. I doubt that's enough. I very much doubt that's enough. So I'm also leaving space for mood reading around that. Will I complete 8,000 pages in September? I hope so. I really failed in August, but I really hope so for September, so keep your fingers crossed for me. Okay, my light is drastically disappearing, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you ever so much for hanging out with me whilst I go through my September TBR. Let me know down below what you are most excited to read in September, and if you are challenging yourself to anything silly, like me. But thanks for hanging out, and I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye!